Hi, this is Demetria with Vantage Point Coaching, and I'm coming to you this morning with our Monday Motivation Minute. But as I was preparing this video, I realized that it was going to take more than a minute, so I decided to record and upload the video instead. And I want to talk about the importance of running your own race. So I've had a few conversations over this past weekend when people were talking about where they are, their station in life. And it just reminded me of the importance of running our own race. And if you've ever participated in track and field, there are some key lessons from track and field that can be applied to our life. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So the first thing, you have to plan and you have to train and you have to prepare for the race. I could go out here and try to run a marathon right now and it would not end well because I am not physically or mentally prepared. I don't have the strength or endurance to complete that type of race. I could go out here and try to do a 100-yard dash. That one is a little more plausible. But guess what? If I do not prepare my body, if I am not stretched, warmed up, and trained, that will end in calamity because I will have a high likelihood of injuring myself. So the first lesson is that you have to plan, you have to train, you have to prepare to even get into any type of race. So that's the number one lesson. The second lesson, if you think about sprints, so those 100-yard dashes, those 2 yards, 200, those 200 meters, 400 meters, those quick races, they all start off where? They start down in the blocks. And sometimes we have to get down and we have to be still and we have to wait. And that's what the starting blocks is all about. It's about getting down on your hands and on your knees, saying that prayer, because if you've ever run a race, you've gotten down on your hands and knees and said a prayer, and wait for the gun to go off. Because we know that if you jump the gun one time, they'll call you back. You'll get another chance. But if you jump that gun again, you will be disqualified. And sometimes we jump the gun in life. Sometimes we get ahead of our skis, as they say, when we need to be waiting. We need to be on our hands and we need to be on our knees. We need to be in some thought and we need to be in some reflection and we need to be in some prayer about this race we're about to undertake. And so that's the number 2 lesson, is to get down and be patient. The number 3 lesson also comes from the sprints. When you're running a sprint, you have to stay in your lane. If you get outside of your lane, if you cross into somebody else's lane, if you turn your head and look back, guess what? All of those things can lead to you losing that race or also being disqualified from that race. So just after that gun goes off, you take off like a shot and stay in your lane, run your race, and don't look back. Now, next lesson comes from distance running. And so in long distance running, so you don't have to necessarily get down in the block. Sometimes you just stand and start out in your respective lane you've been assigned to, and then you're off. Now, in distance running, you can cross over into other lanes. You can switch lanes. You can have a lot more movement in those distance runs, but only after a prescribed distance. That means you got to put in your work. That means you have to put in your effort right where you are before you can start switching and crossing and trying to overtake somebody from the outside or all trying to converge over into the inside lane. You have to go and meet certain marks and certain markers before you can make your move. And that's the lesson for us. Sometimes we have to meet certain marks and certain markers before we can safely and confidently make our move. So that's the main lesson for today in running your race. Plan, train, prepare. Sometimes we got to be patient. Sometimes we got to stay in our lane, and sometimes we got to go a certain distance before we can make a move. Peace.